Cannot move my fingers all in a knot. I don't have the strength to get up and take another shot. My best friend, who's the doctor, won't even tell me what it is I've got. Just like Tom Thumb's Blues, Bob Dylan. One of my favorite songs of all time. Alright, we're going over the psychology of Bob Dylan today. Yes, we are. Alright. Bob Dylan, his core philosophy in psychology is don't care what anybody thinks of you. A couple examples to show this philosophy that he has is his 1964 interview where people are trying to identify him as a successful commercial singer-songwriter with him as a person, and he kind of aggressively said back. It's like the third video. Dog's always in it. I don't even know what he's whining about this time. What are you whining about? God only knows. Yeah, what were we talking about? I low-key forget. Oh yeah, the interview. So yeah, he aggressively said how his philosophy was, even though he was super successful commercially with producing songs, that this was only one task that he did in his day. And he attempted hard to get the extremely, high amount of like media on him away from him. Or not away from him, but to not bring him not down to earth. And this leads me to my next point, part 2. The beauty is in the craft, not the recognition. Bob Dylan in his memoir says time and time again how he, spent most of his mental energy on the craft and not worrying about, how people perceived what it was he was doing. When he was on, he went on a super commercially successful tour, but then he changed his style and he found a new way of playing the guitar, which used a different 3-string pattern than he usually did. And he took time off to work on some courses for a play. This was around the 1970s, and then he took a lot of time off to spend time with his kids in the Hamptons. So he always viewed the craft of what he was doing more important than maintaining a high amount of money. So, which brings me to part 3. He was a cynic in a way, but he was also not down to earth. Now, there are reports of during his tours when Bob Dylan was younger that he was extremely hard to work with. Similar reports came out with his, fraternity his freshman year at University of Minnesota. And he obviously has a very dramatic mindset in how he sees the world, as he changed his name and he left his parents' house, when he was 20 to move to Manhattan. And in an interview very late in his life, he's on CNN, a 60-minute segment of him. He's paraphrased quote on saying that, quote, some people are born to the wrong parents, and that, God and there's no reason to follow the societal norm of staying with your parents, So in a way, he's a cynic, right? Because he tries to break through any mental illusions. But you could also, a cynic, for you guys who don't know, it was originally formed when Diogenes the Cynic, in Greece, just lived in a barrel his entire life. But a cynic usually is super down to earth. But Bob Dylan, in a way, isn't really down to earth because he's hyper emotional and he frequently gets into fights with people. Which means he's hard to work with in a way, but he also doesn't, any sort of, superficiality. Very dramatic mindset. Very, very, very. However, Bob Dylan was like inherently present and ahead of his time. In interviews with Bob Dylan and also the movie created about him, he was always like in the present moment. He like never, like pretty much never admitted to, like, having some like certain like labels. Like he would, like he won the Nobel, oh no, he won a recognition award in Princeton University, actually, like where I live. And he like said in his memoir, yeah, like we drove our Buick six, or like, yeah, we drove our Buick, yeah, like down and received the reward. It felt weird, it felt odd. Like he never lets the recognition get to his head. Like, a CNN reporter asked him about money, and he aggressively said back, like, "You want to talk about money? The guy had no money when I went to Manhattan." So, any sort of currency, whether it be fame or money, he views as the enemy. Another great example of this is the song I was singing in the beginning. A quote from a bar from that song or poem is, how am I forgetting it now? Oh yeah, it's either money or fame. You can have one or the other, though neither of them ought to be what they claim. And the point of this lyric is, like, when we're young, we always seek either money or fame. Most of the time is validation. Yet when we have both, it gives us a different sensation than what we thought it would give us looking in the future. Most of his songs deal with characters undergoing this sort of existential phenomena, especially from his record Highway 61 Revisited, as one of his most played songs, Like a Rolling Stone. God, this dog, it really is fucking barking in every video, because all he does is bark all day. And he's probably not gonna, he's just gonna keep barking. So I'm just gonna keep talking because I'm honestly fucking done with it. But yeah. Yeah, his songs deal with existential phenomenon of looking at labels from the inside looking out. Because a great example of this is a song like a Rolling Stone is mocking a around 20-year-old girl who goes to the city alone and realizes that romantic view of like being alone in the city is nothing like the inherent void that it actually feels like. And his presence and his ability to look at time and recognition, or money and recognition, is very insignificant variables led him to really be extremely culturally revolutionary, because his lyrics and songs usually dealt with the energy of being anti the Vietnam War, which my channel really doesn't stand for making a stance on whether that's ethical or moral or not. But I mean, he had a revolutionary impact, period, so take with that what you will. But yeah, and the reason he was able to do so was because he never for a second valued superficiality. A great example of this, again, is a very minute detail, but it's in the movie A Complete Unknown. He was reported to, like, his girlfriend Joan Baez would like leave for tours, and he would just leave the house a fucking mess, because, like, the dude did not want to do anything that was like, housework, chores, college. Like, bro did not see like any sort of like chores as like a good thing, which led to the reports of him being super hard to work with, but also allows him to be a revolutionary because he's just constantly thinking about the root cause of everything, which he saw the Vietnam War as a massive issue, and just he has a lot of songs just dissing the entire industrial arms complex, which, I mean, valid. I mean, I feel like I'm probably anti the industrial arms complex. You're gonna get fucking shadow banned for saying that, but. And if you guys don't know what that is, look it up. The CIA is going to be at my house with an assault rifle. Yeah, but the last part is he is a rose that dipped himself in crude oil for the sake of humanity betterment, in his opinion. A great example of this is when he was in his 20s, he kind of like he valued the music itself. A lot of examples of this is like he would play in Greenwich Village and stuff like that, and really loved folk music. But he eventually built himself up to sign with Columbia Records. But he's directly quoted in his memoir, or paraphrased in his memoir, like, you know, he's paraphrased in his memoir to say, like I try to use these record labels as a tool, as a means of getting my message into the mass, and then once I actually got mass recognition, it weighed heavy on my brain. So it's like he almost sacrificed his own peace of mind for the sake of having what he did, poem and song-wise, reach a massive crowd, which inevitably caused the revolution that him and the Beatles sort of like congruently had, which was a counterculture, pro-expression, anti-suit and tie, anti-industrial arms complex, anti-war revolution that inspired many of the youth at the time. So there you go, Bob Dylan. On one hand, super hard to work with. On the other hand, a revolutionary. I guess I'll conclude this with a little conclusion on my opinion. There's a reason, like, I'm more like pro like Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they're my favorite band. It's because, like, I don't know, I'm a little bit anti the whole anarchist tyranny mindset. Like, Bob Dylan is quoted in his memoir for being very heavily influenced by Machiavelli, which, for those of you guys who don't know, like, Machiavelli was a tyrannist, and he was pro looking at the world, whether that be for us in America nowadays, just looking at, like, big companies and, like, big companies and everything that else is going on in America in the modern news. Like, Machiavelli, like, the whole mindset is to, like, use all of that as, like, chess pieces, and, kind of view it from the outside. Like, view yourself, like, picture all of society as, like, a mountain, and you're the peak, so you're looking down at everything playing chess. I'm a little anti that mindset. Well, no, I just don't like it as much as, like, someone who, like, submits themselves to the machine a little bit more. Like, the Red Hots are definitely a little bit less anarchist than Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan was super anti-commercialism, ironically, even though he was super popular. But don't mistake someone being popular for them being pro-commercialism, because a great example of Bob Dylan being super anti-commercialism is, even though Highway 61 and his first two records sold a lot, like, when he was touring in the 70s and 80s, like, he would not play those songs. Like, he refused a lot of money to, like, play Like a Rolling Stone on repeat, to play, like, Mr. Tambourine Man on repeat. Like, the dude was the dude had crazy amounts of aura, because he was so anti, like, the public or fame, but he inevitably became super famous because he became famous in the sake of revolution. So in the 70s and 80s and 90s, he more so denied a lot of interviews, and he would still get good tour deals making money, but the dude could have made like 6x the amount of money he actually made, which is saying something, because he has a house in, like, Little Doom and stuff like that. So, I mean, like, the dude could have sold out way more than he did, is my point. But obviously the tyranny mindset can get, like, a little messy on the ground level, because, Like, I don't think it's nice to, like, be rude to people on tour and stuff like that, and be hard to work with all the time. That's just personally not my type of mindset. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different psychology. Everybody has a different opinion on how they approach art. And Bob Dylan's was what I just described in the video. But I think if I was a talented poet in the 60s, I would probably be a little bit more easy to work with on tour. But yeah. Have a good one, guys.